What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I want to give you guys a very quick update on Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic data coming out for tomorrow, what's going on with earnings coming out, and what you should be watching for in the charts for SPY, Tesla, and all these different tickers. Before I begin the doubles information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends very soon in just 8 days. Anyways, for the market right now, you guys can see that SPY managed to break this high right here at 500, going all the way up to this resistance in the 502 area. We had this marked previously. As we dipped a little bit, we retested our 50 EMA, and SPY ended up closing just around 500, a little bit below that, but still very close. So far, this thing is trying to reverse, but we need confirmation first to really see that. So I want to see SPY basically establish a higher low over here relative to this low, and then try to push and break past 502. If we do so, this thing has a lot of potential to go up to 505, if not 507. So I see potential in SPY. But for this to continue, see we have this nice like inverse head and shoulders like bottom right here. For this to continue, we need to see confirmation. We need to see this thing try to break out higher. We have to see this break resistance. So I'll break down more details about this. I'll start off by going to bigger time frames a little later. Let me first go over some news real quick before I break down the charts. So the first thing I want to know is when it comes to the global geopolitics and stuff like that. Right now, with the whole Israel and Iran situation, things are still continuing to cool off a little bit. We're not seeing as much talk about more retaliation or anything like that. And I find that to be good news. I really want peace and nothing more than that. So that's good to hear. I just want to note that we're not necessarily out of the water just yet. Always be prepared for anything and always expect the worst. That's like kind of like my view of things, and always be prepared. So you never know what could happen in the future. As of right now, things are cooling off a little bit. This could be temporary. We'll see. And we'll just hope for the best and see how things go. But don't become too complacent to seeing that. Don't think the market's just going to explode and go to new all time highs instantly. Things could always shift. So we'll just have to wait and see. But, anyways, let's talk about some data. For tomorrow, it's going to be Tuesday, April 23rd. It's going to be a big day. Why? Because firstly, 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI report. And we also have new home sales coming out. Now, with some manufacturing numbers and new home sales, we could be looking for some interesting volatility for the first 15 minutes of market open. PMI is going to give us a good view of different sections of the economy, and we'll see how they look moving forward. Then at 30 minutes after the market opens, that's when we have new home sales and manufacturing numbers. That's going to be important. And we'll see what that causes. Then at 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m., we have some bill auctions and note auctions. That's pretty much it. The rest of the data is kind of minor. So look for some high volatility 15 minutes and 30 minutes after the market opens. Then look and see what happens with these auctions coming out. Once again, a little bit as after the market opens is when the data starts. So we'll see what happens with all this data. For more stuff coming out, let me just mention that for earnings, okay? Today, the earnings are very minor. I'm not going to talk too much about them. I went over Verizon in the morning, but that's pretty much it. For now, we're going to focus on some big earnings starting tomorrow because the big earnings days are going to be Tuesday through Thursday. We have the biggest earnings days. Tomorrow, before the market opens, we have GM, we have UPS, and GE, and then PepsiCo. GM is going to be one of the biggest ones before the market opens. And then after the market closes, we have the notorious Tesla, Visa, excuse me, and just a couple others. Tesla's going to be a big one. Can't wait to see what Tesla tells us. Elon Musk was supposed to go to India. That's what the plan was, but he ended up not going because of a lot of obligations for Tesla. Instead, he's going to delay the trip for a few months possibly. So we'll see how things go with that. Tesla's in a very, very critical place. They've been cutting a lot of their prices for different models in the US, in China, in Germany, and other European countries, and also parts of Africa. So with that happening, it's a little bit negative for Tesla, but we'll have to see what their guidance looks like. It's going to be very important. This could have a big effect on other sectors out there, like the EV sector. This could affect stocks like Rivian and Neo and the others out there. So we'll just have to wait and see. Don't forget that for Wednesday, we have like Boeing and AT&T in the morning. Then we have Meta and IBM after the market closes. For Thursday, we have Royal Caribbean, not to mention Microsoft, Alphabet, and Intel. And then we'll have to see how things go from here. But I just wanted to make it very clear. Tomorrow is going to be the start of some big earnings as we have GM and Tesla. Tesla's going to be a big one. Can't wait to see how things go. Tesla's in a very critical place with all these cuts. They also cut their FSD beta prices by about 33%. So not the best of news with all these cuts that happened. Tesla's in a very, very critical place where demand is slowing down because of high interest rates, and I can't wait to see what they end up announcing tomorrow. I'll give you guys a very nice report on that as well. Let me call out one more thing before I break down the charts. Right now, the market is still quite fearful, but we're getting a little bit closer to neutral as we're starting to see buyers defending. On top of this, when you look at the way the market's moving, the puts and call options positioning, this is the ratio right over here is going up because we're starting to see a lot of put buying. It's been going up like crazy. People are shorting the market like crazy. And it's no surprise that the market tried to bounce a little bit after everyone started shorting the market, expecting a bigger crash to continue. So that is part of trickery, and we might see a continuation to the upside if this maintains the high level it's at because of manipulation and other factors like that. But even if the market bounced, don't expect it to bounce forever. There's always going to be crazy volatility coming. The VIX dropped quite a bit today. We're back to neutral on the VIX. We're currently at 17. If we lose that, so we could be getting very close to the 50 daily moving average again, which is just under 15. So if that ends up being the case, this could be a signal that the market is trying to rebound a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see. Give this a little bit more time. Be careful in trading because when the VIX is dropping, it's going to have a big effect on premiums. So you want to be very careful with the way you day trade, especially if you're going short term. Just want to make that very clear because of the way the VIX is kind of moving around. But with that being said, let's now just talk about the charts. What do I see for the market going forward? What I'm first going to do is I'm going to transition to the bigger time frames for just SPY, Tesla, and the QQQ, and talk about some other factors. So right now, if you look at the daily, SPY is showing some life right now. It's actually making attempts to bounce. So it's looking kind of decent. The QQQ is looking the same, attempting to bounce right over here. Tesla on the daily, honestly, guys, even though Tesla has this gap to fill on the daily, I don't really care too much about what Tesla does tomorrow before the market ends up closing because even if Tesla does get some kind of bounce, even if it falls, what's going to matter more is going to be earnings after the market closes. So whatever Tesla does tomorrow when the market's open doesn't matter as much. What matters more is going to be its earnings. Will Tesla get a big explosion to the upside and start filling these gaps, or is Tesla about to get a massive rug pull if they have bad earnings and bad guidance? We're going to find out tomorrow after the market closes, by the way. And then for the QQQ, like I said, it's the same thing, trying to rebound a bit on the daily. I'm seeing some potential, but we need to see some more confirmation of that. So we got some green closes. The 4 hour on the QQQ is turning. It does look a little bit more bullish to me. I also want to note that SPY looks kind of similar. SPY looks like it could try to retest 501.25, if not higher, on the 4 hour. And then also Tesla, it is trying to base right here. I do see some signals of that, but I'm not seeing anything else. So, anyways, let's now break down some levels and talk about what I think is going to play out for tomorrow. Honestly, guys, Tesla is very news dependent. Technicals, they do work, but not always as precisely as before because there's so much news that comes out and it can be unpredictable sometimes. So always keep that in the back of your mind. If we turn bearish, watch 140 is critical support. If we lose that, watch 138. If we lose that, we're going to be sinking down to 136 and 135. If we're bullish, you want to see this break 144. If that breaks, if we get above 144 and hold this, we could try to fill this gap up all the way up to 146.7. That's going to be a test of our 50 EMA by the time we do that, most likely. And then if that breaks, 150 is going to be our next target. So what do I see for Tesla? How do I think this is going to move in my personal opinion? Honestly, guys, it looks to me like Tesla is, for the most part, quite range bound. But I think that as we're approaching earnings, there could be some buyers defend it. I think that we might see a lot of sideways price action within this range. It might be retesting 142 all over again. I think it might actually try to push a little bit higher towards 144. Maybe trade a little bit sideways for some time, but slowly try to inch a little higher into the mid 140s and see a lot of sideways price action. That's kind of like what I see happening for tomorrow as the most likely possibility. We might actually close a little green anticipating earnings. Sometimes Tesla does like to push approaching it, but then, like I said before, it doesn't really matter too much because what matters more is going to be what they report for earnings specifically. For SPY, I just want to say that SPY, in my personal opinion, has an inverse head and shoulders like structure, and there is potential for this to go higher. I do see it. It depends on if we, excuse me, it depends on if we dip a little bit first and try to bounce, or if we bounce from here. That's going to be very, very key for it. But the bigger time frames are looking a little bit more bullish. Watch 498. If we hold this and bounce off of it, we could be pushing for 502 again. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a move up to 505 and 507. If we lose 498, watch 497. If that fails us, we could fill the step all the way down to the 494s again. If we break above 500, look for 502, 505, and then 507. In my opinion, I'm going to be watching to see if we get this big test where we kind of dip a little bit more. could retest our 20 EMA at 498, then bounce and start pushing for 502 all over again. If we break that, I'm going to be looking for a push up towards 505 and 507. There definitely is an imbalance to fill at 505. So I favor upside a little bit more. I think we could get very close to 505 by tomorrow, but just to be safe, look for confirmation. Do we establish a higher low? Do we dip a little bit and still hold this and try to bounce back up? I favor that, so we'll have to see how it goes from there. For the QQQ, this is looking a bit more bullish to me. As you guys can see, this thing is trying to rebound. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure that's developing. It's a little bit slanted. We look a little bit more bullish on the 4 hour, and we're holding support. If we hold above 417, look for a bounce and a retest of the 420 area. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for another push for 425 plus. If we break past 421, look for a bigger push as well. I favor a push to the upside. I think that's very probable for the QQQ. So we'll just have to see how it goes from here. But I think there's a very good chance it's going to try to push higher, and we'll be watching that very, very carefully. Looking at Aapl, Aapl has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. Going to be looking for a push for 166.69 and finally a push for 168 plus. I think that we're trying to uptrend right here. Could retest 165 and start pushing higher for at least 166.75. Eventually, the 167s should be coming. So I anticipate some upside as a strong possibility. For Nvda, Nvda is looking a little bit more bullish. Let me actually pull up our 4 hour just to be safe on this. If you look at the 4 hour, it's actually churning right over here. You guys can see this. We have this imbalance coming all the way up to about 815 to 820. So I see potential in this to try to bounce. Watch to see if we could break past 805. If we break this, we could be pushing for 820. If we reject off this, look for support around basically there's support at 791. If we lose that, then we could be sinking towards like 776 or so. I favor this trying to rebound a bit. So I think it's very probable we try to push to the 50 EMA at 810. So I think that's a lot more probable, and we'll see if that ends up being the case. So that being said, that's what I'm seeing for Nvidia, a test of about 810 to 820. I think it could push higher, and we'll just give this a little bit more time. I think it's very possible it tries to push, and I think that there's a very good chance that's going to happen. With that being said, the market looks like it's trying to rebound a bit. In my video yesterday for Palantir, I said it might be testing 20.5 to 20 and then try to rebound. Exactly. That's what happened. Exactly to a T. So, what do I see for Palantir from here? Could retest 21, come back down to 20.8, and then bounce higher and try to break out towards 21.5. Look for a little dip and bounce. I think that's very probable, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. For super micro, we're trying to base right here. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. So I think we could be retesting the 20 EMA at 733, then start breaking out towards 750. So I think that super micro may try to bounce a bit. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders. Could try to break this, but look and see if we could break 733 for confirmation. For Rivian, Rivian is looking decent, but it depends on Tesla's earnings. I mentioned to everyone that it might dip a bit and then try to rebound. As you guys could see, it did dip to about 8.3 before trying that attempt. I think that if you look at our 4 hour time frame, it might actually try to push for 8.81 and then try to push for 9 after that. So I see potential in Rivian to go a little bit higher. For SoFi, I think it's going to be testing 7.3. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a push all the way up towards 7.5. So I'm seeing some improvement and some potential in this chart. We'll see if that ends up being the case. For the IWM Russell 2000, I mentioned to everyone it's either going to bounce off 192 or drop to about 190 and then bounce. We got the bounce already, exactly as predicted. Going to be looking for a test of 196.75. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for 198, then 200. I see potential for more upside. For AMD, we're starting to turn over here. So I could see this actually try to push higher towards 154. I think it might try to attempt to go there. So let's see if we try to fill this imbalance and we try to go up to about 154. I find that to be very probable. And we'll see how it goes from there. But I see potential in this chart nonetheless. For a few more, we also have ARM. ARM, in my opinion, is also trying to turn on the 4 hour. I could be looking for this imbalance fill at 96. I mentioned to everyone it's either going to bounce off 87 or drop to 80 and then bounce. So, I went over the two possibilities, either like it dips a bit more than bounces or bounces from where we were. We did get a bounce, so I was on the right track with this. We have this imbalance to fill at 96. If that breaks, I'm going to be looking for 100, a test of our 20 EMA. So it's showing some life. The market is just doing the same thing market wide. Coinbase is in a critical place. So you guys could see it has this interesting channel. I actually have a bigger channel drawn out, but we're not going to worry too much about that. And also this trend line. This is going to be our next resistance, by the way. So we like to reject off 226 and we like to get bought up at 208. we're at resistance. If we break through this, look for 232. If we break that, we can push higher. There's an imbalance to fill all the way up to about 240 if we do have a triple bottom. But we need confirmation or break past 228. If we lose 220, look for a dip back down to fill this gap. In my opinion, it could push a little bit higher, so I see potential in this. For Amazon, we're starting to turn on the 4 hour. I think it's going to be testing 179 within the next couple of days. And if that breaks, we're looking for 181. I think it could bounce at least a little bit after it dropped so hard. It went from 190 all the way down to 173 within what, like a week and a half, which is pretty crazy. So I see some potential for a little rebound. It looks like it's going to be testing at least 179. Meta's not looking as good to me. So you guys can see we had this like channel that we were kind of stuck in. And then we're trying to test this right now. This also aligns with our 200 EMA. If we turn bullish, you want to see it break past 483. If we break that, look for 485, then eventually 492. If we're bearish, you want to see it reject, but I see potential for this to try to bounce. For Meta's trying to turn right now. Not Meta, sorry. Microsoft is trying to turn right now. If we break past 402, I think we could go up to about 406. 406 is a real possibility, 405.5 to 406. So I think it could push a few points. I see potential for this to bounce, and we'll see how things go from here. For Google, in my opinion, is also showing some life. Now, even though Google is kind of stuck within this range, I am seeing some potential as we're approaching, earnings. It could try to fill this imbalance. We could be looking for a push for 160. Might try to go up to at least 158 and 160 by tomorrow. So I see potential in the chart. For the VIX, this is looking like it kind of rejected right here. We also closed below our 4-hour 50 EMA. So it looks to me like it's going to dip to at least 16.23. And if that fails us, we could be filling in another imbalance over here at 15.6. That's going to be very close to our 200 EMA by the time we reach it. So it looks a bit more bearish. And that's because of the market potentially trying to bounce. So I see potential for this is going to be the 10-year treasury yield. If we lose 4.58, we're going to fill this gap all the way down to about 4.5. And if we manage to break out above 4.65, it could push higher. It's kind of tight in a range right now. I do see potential for a test of about 4.56, but then after that, it's a little hard to tell. So I think it could dip a little bit, but there's no confirmation yet of a break. It's still range bound. The dollar has a bearish little structure right over here. So I was calling this out yesterday that the dollar might retrace towards 106. If that fails us, we could be looking for a 50 EMA test at 105.8. The dollar is showing some weakness, and this is a sign that the market might try to bounce. So most indicators are showing the market might try to continue to push higher. But do not turn into a perma bull. Do not just randomly think it's going to go up and just jump in for no reason. You want to be looking for good entries and confirmation. So let's see if SPY establishes a higher low. We come down a little bit more and try to bounce off this. Let's see if we break past 502. If we do that, we could easily push to 505 and 507. Yes, but we need confirmation first. So we'll just be very patient and give this the time it needs. With that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. Please have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day and peace out.